Hello and welcome to Lawyerish, a podcast for the people. Lawyerish is a safe space to learn, grow, inspire, and be inspired. So come along and ride on this fantastic voyage. I sure am glad you're here. I'm Brandon J Wallace, Esquire. I'll be your captain. We've got an exciting show today. Remember that Lawyerish is brought to you by Apex, where aptitude means excellence. And powered by the Green Law Firm, your one-stop shop for everything real estate in Tennessee and Mississippi. I sure am glad to be back in the chair and back in the mix with each and every one of you. Thanks for being here. I've got an exciting show today, y'all. I've got two wonderful women that I am kind of sweet on. So I'm glad to chat with them today. This is a really, really exciting show. I'm really excited. Our Voyage Vibe today is brought to us by Rowdy. This is called Foreign Take. I'm all over the place today, but that's always a good time because that just means we're going to let it flow. We're going to flow in the gift today. So I'm excited about that, excited about this chat, and I don't want to belabor it. So let's get right into the show. All right, friends, it's duly noted, and I'm excited today because this is a special duly noted. Yours truly has been awarded the Real Estate, Housing, and Land Use Lawyer of the Year by the DC Bar Association. I am so honored to have been nominated by my colleagues and to be voted, I guess, by the leadership of the community. This is, I think, one of the first times this award is being, awarded, and they have the people have decided that I'll be the Lawyer of the Year for our section. So it's a bit of a shock to me. This is the first award I've ever gotten as an attorney, and so I'm very, very grateful for my colleagues seeing the work that I do and deciding that I should receive this award. So on June the 20th, I'll be in the District of Columbia to receive this award and to dine with the other section winners. So congratulations to all of my other colleagues in the different sections who have been selected by their colleagues as the Lawyer of the Year. This should be a good time. So more to come on that, but I'm happy to share that with you today. So I don't know what to even say about that. It is just truly an honor. Any award that people decide to give you, they don't have to give you that, right? You don't have to. They could name hundreds of other lawyers in the district and a part of the DC Bar could be nominated and could be granted this sort of honor. And the people decided it should be me. I don't know exactly why. Because I'm just that good. I don't know. All right. Okay, my bad. But they have decided to award me this, and I really truly am honored. I'm humbled by it. As I mentioned, folks don't have to recognize the work that you do. It's an honor and a privilege to be named, and I don't take that lightly. So to my colleagues who nominated me, I don't even know who nominated me, whoever nominated me, thank you. And to my colleagues who voted in my favor, I want to say thank you. I am honored, and I do not take it lightly. So I'm grateful. All glory to God, to whom all blessings flow, right? From whom all blessings flow. Boy, that's kind of nice, isn't it? Anyway, let me move on. But actually, I would just pause right here for that. That's pretty awesome, right? That's pretty all right. So thank you. I appreciate that. I'm honored. That's duly noted. We'll be right back with Lawyerish. All right, friends, we are back, and it's now time for Lawyerish. I'm super excited to welcome my friend, my colleague, my fellow lawyer in the law, my fellow law school buddy, Ms. Tamara Brown. She is a former U.S. Army intelligence officer, a veteran, I should say. She's got a diverse background in program and risk management. She's been all over the place. She's got Dean's Cup of the Edgar Kahn Award for Advocacy and Community Service. She is out of Baltimore, Maryland. She was a part of the Women's Business Opportunity Office in the city of Baltimore. She's just done a lot, and we want to talk to her today because she's bad to the bone. Welcome, Tamara. Thank you so much for being on Lawyerish. I'm so glad to have you on today.
Thank you so much, Brandon, and congratulations on your award. Of course, not your first, but your first as a lawyer, so very impressive. Congratulations. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for that warm introduction.
I actually, speaking of introduction, I actually almost forgot that you were founder and CEO of Women for Wallace when I ran for student bar president.
I was going to bring that up. I was going to bring that up. So that,
You had me back. Had my back and you held me down from the beginning. And you were, sort of helped us make our way to victory back. What was that? Gosh, that was 8-9 years ago now at this point.
Back in law school, you were running for president, and we definitely, again, my public engagement. I love politics. I love campaigns, which I know you'll be talking about very soon in this podcast. But I love it. And as you see, we struck you onto a win there. It was a little controversial. We did it, right?
That's right. It was a little rocky. It was a close race. So
yes, it was. It was the Women for Wallace that did it.
That I agree. The Women for Wallace put me over the top. That's all about Black girl magic. It's a beautiful thing.
Right.
It's Black girl magic is how I am who I am today. It is how I'm sustained. And I got to tell you, were it not for Black women in my life, all throughout my life, from beginning to now, I don't know where I'd be. Anyway, we'll talk about a little bit more about that today. But I'm grateful to have you on to represent the Black girl magic, part of the Black girl magic.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you for having me on an episode about Black girl magic.
Yes. All right. So look, let's get into it. Let's talk about, I want to talk about your early career before law school, because you're one of the folks, you kind of like me, where you went back to law school, right? You already had a career. You were doing pretty good. You were, doing your thing. And then you decided to go back to law school. But so before we get to that, because I do want to understand why you went back to law school, but can you just tell us a little bit about what you were doing and how you were engaged before law school? And then tell us why you decided to go to law school.
Wow, this might take the whole podcast. Brandon,
let's not do that.
so much, but just to keep it short, initially I'm very creative. I love fashion. I love architecture. Wanted to become an architect. Started my education in architecture, and there's just a thing about being independent, not needing my parents for support, where I ended up going into the military. I joined the Army, and I was in the intelligence end of the Army. So I did end up going to Korea. I got pregnant with my son. And so I had a child, got out of the Army, finished up school. And, I was doing a lot of government consulting. I was in the DC area, which is known for, I had a top secret security clearance. So I was getting paid really, really well, able to take care of myself and my son. And so that's what I was doing before. I was working for some of the large defense contractors, BAE Systems, SAIC, doing a lot of systems engineering. My background is in management information systems. So I was on the tech and program management end of government contracting.
Okay. And so, you were obviously doing well, and that's BAE. We often see that people say it's Bay, but the actual name is BAE. So you kind of were doing in that space, and then you decided you want to go to law school. Why would you do that to yourself?
So I was in this transition where I was a single mother. His father was still in the military and stationed in different places. So we never really geographically lived in the same space. And I was going through raising a young Black boy, putting him in some of the best private schools in Northern Virginia. And I started recognizing that he was that challenge of having an intellectual young Black man in a non-diverse environment, I was like, I need to make a move. So I ended up thinking about moving. That's how I ended up in Baltimore. I was like, he needs more culture. I was being called at school constantly for the simplest things. And at that time, I was contemplating a lot of changes in my life. It was like, where am I going to live geographically that's best for my son? And then, like, we just landed a huge multi-billion-dollar contract. We were implementing some new systems, along with BAE systems. And I started recognizing that the contracts kept going on and on. I started seeing a waste of tax dollars. Like, it was bothering me a little bit. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I felt like I had no purpose. There was no purpose in the work I was doing, which is constantly billing the government exorbitant hours to really do nothing and to extend the work. So I thought about law school. I don't know where it came from. I picked up a book to start studying for the LSAT. I just wanted to do more with myself. It was just a huge change that I was going through overall, and so I ended up meeting an attorney when I moved to Baltimore, who was practicing here for some years, and it kind of pushed me. Like, I was like, I could actually do this. So I was working in his office a little, helping out, and when people would call in, they would defer so many things, like, oh, you need to talk to the lawyer. Oh, you need to talk to the lawyer. And I was like, I don't want to just be a lawyer's wife. I want to be a lawyer myself. So I was like, I'm going to go to law school. So my son was at that age, and I took the dive. I took the LSAT last minute, drove up in the rain to Pennsylvania, took it, and ended up getting into UDC. And I'm really happy that I went.
Yeah, agreed. It's always law school is such a challenge, right?
Yes.
But it's nice when you can go through it and meet great people, and some of the lasting connections that you have. You just get a lot of value from them. So let's talk about sort of what you have done, I guess, since law school, right? So you decided to go to law school, and you were civically engaged. And so how have you utilized your JD since going to law school? Because you don't practice necessarily. You don't.
No.
What are you doing to utilize that degree now? And are you pleased with it?
No, that's a whole nother podcast. I'm not practicing. So I supported my husband's practice for some time. And if like, through law school, the Freddie Gray uprising occurred, and I was extremely instrumental in trying to get our law school involved in a lot that was going on here in Baltimore, because it touched base here for me, and I knew I wanted to do something. So during that time, when we were graduating from law school, that was the peak of the Freddie Gray uprising here in Baltimore. I saw an opening for the Baltimore City Police Department in compliance, and I thought, I don't want to be a police officer. I knew I couldn't do that, but I was trying to figure out a way that I could make an impact in Baltimore. And by the way, when I was moving here, I would come here on weekends. Years before that, when I was looking for real estate here, something struck me. Like, I wanted to be a teacher. Like, every weekend I would come here to look for property before I moved here. Something told me I was going to do something here in this city. Like, I needed to be here. So it was really pushing me and compelling me to do something more. And I applied for the position, as it was a compliance position within the police department, where I thought I could embed myself. And then I got a call a few months later, and the city holds your resume and they look for other matches. And there was a match within the law department for me to run the Minority and the Women's Business Opportunity Office. And I thought, okay, well, I've never done anything like that before, but I recognize that empowering businesses could also make a change in the city. So I took up their offer. I interviewed, and by Judge Andre Davis, who was an amazing individual, who is an amazing individual. And he gave me the opportunity to run that office.
So can you tell us about what you do in that role, and what does that look like?
For the city of Baltimore, there's legislation that sets that office out. So I thought, well, this is really easy. It's really easy to follow the rules. There's a city code, and there's legislation that was passed probably about 40 years ago to ensure that minority and women-owned businesses have equal opportunity in government contracting within Baltimore City. And so I'm not sure if you're familiar with Croson v. Richmond. That's a case that came out in the 80s. Where they were awarding a contract to a Black business simply because it was a Black business. And through that case that went up to the Supreme Court, they decided that in order to have offices like that, you have to have a disparity study. And the judge that hired me was actually a judge that ceased the program in Baltimore City, in the state of Maryland, because they hadn't had a disparity study. He actually shut it down when he was in a federal judge. So in order to have that, they have to have these disparity study every 4 years to prove that there is a disparity or there's discrimination within the contracting, in order to justify setting goals on government contracts that are set asides, almost for, not set asides, but a percentage of the work is subcontracted out to minority and women-owned businesses. So we certified the businesses to be a minority or women-owned business, and then we reviewed every single contract over $50,000. We set goals. We established goals for those contracts based on the results of the last disparity study. So we would, on a contract by contract basis, we had to set goals for everything.
That's pretty impressive. So that's really impactful work, right? I mean, that's something that I think is probably lasting and generational in some sense. What's been sort of the impact, you think, of your work?
So it's supposed to be impactful. What I found when I was stepping into the office, and I was actually hired at a lower level. I didn't know I was hired to run the office. They were phasing out my predecessor, who was a very seasoned attorney. But what I think I recognized early on is that it was toothless. Like, the law was extremely toothless, and we hear about that. Like, no one was really imposing anything. There were penalties and a lot of things that you can impose if a contractor was not compliant, not utilizing minority and women-owned businesses. So when I was engaging with the Black business community, particularly because Baltimore is majority Black, when I was engaging with the community when I first started in the position, they were very reluctant about the office. They felt like, like it doesn't really do anything. The way I was trained, it was like, hey, look, if a minority business comes to you and there's an issue with the business that they're subcontracting for, we really don't get involved in it. And I'm like, wait a minute, we're going out and trying to get people to get certified, and we're not doing anything when there is a problem, when they're not getting paid or they're being utilized. Like, there's a lot of problems in the system. So my contribution to the office was I simply followed the law. And when I did take over the office, so many changes were made very, very quickly. It was a very political position. And, for the first time, the Baltimore Sun did write an article about a penalty that I'd imposed, where the office had never imposed any penalties that were on the books. It's in their contracts. And I did it for the first time. It was a Herculean effort to get all of the agency heads and get the mayor at the time to approve it, but it was done. So, I've got that historic record of actually penalizing someone financially for not, and it was a racial slur that was used during some contracting processes that I found out about, and I was able to penalize them. So I continue to do that, and it was not a very popular thing.
Well, can you unpack that a little bit? Tell us what happened. I'm curious. I want to know what that's about.
Well,
what
it's public record. So there was a particular contractor that came out of West Virginia and that was doing work in the city and utilizing an African American company. And so at the end of the contracts, what they were doing is at the end of the contracts, before they released the rest of the funds from the primary contractor, and this is generally construction jobs, like infrastructure jobs, really high dollar value, multi-million-dollar jobs we're talking about. They would have to see if they utilize if they paid the MBE, the minority business, the amount that they said they would pay them in order to win the contract. Like, you can't win a contract that has the participation goals unless you say you're going to meet it and you list who you're going to utilize. So, it became known to me that they missed that goal by, it was hundreds of thousands of dollars. And as I investigated the case, and I had an investigator on my team that was able to investigate like what happened, what traction, what was going on in that process, and it was like a 2-year contract, it became known to me that there were some racial slurs used at a meeting. I tried to get recordings. I interviewed a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it came down to them not paying the MBE or utilizing them for the amount that they promised the city that they would. It was a breach of their contract. And for that reason, I was able to take money from the rest of their payment for the contract. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so why do you think it was such a challenge to issue this fine? Like, why do you think people fought that so much?
So what I realized is that a lot of these large companies that do these billion-dollar infrastructure projects. They're very well connected. And the problem that I had with the office was that the office was embedded within the law department. The law department, the head of the law department is serving at the pleasure of the mayor. The mayor is elected by the people, and the mayor gets, contributions from multiple, entities, typically the ones that have the most money. So a lot of these contractors that do business with the cities or any municipalities tend to donate to campaigns. And, there's relationships there that I was not aware of. Again, I'm not native of Baltimore. There was a lot going on. So I kind of went into this not knowing who was who. And I had a red dot on my head the entire time, from the time I did that. So I didn't understand the relationships. The agency heads for public works, they weren't used to someone pushing and asking for this. Again, it was the first time it had been done. So although it was in the books, and if they had followed the rules from the time it was in the books to the date that I took over the office, we probably would see a lot more of our businesses growing in Baltimore City. But unfortunately, there were businesses that were going out of business because they were awarded a contract. They would do work on the contract under a majority white out-of-state firm, and they wouldn't get paid. And that is systematic racism. And that is the way that you can put your competitor out of business, right? If I'm not paying you, you do the same work I do, but you do it at a smaller scale. I have to win this contract with you. If I can avoid paying you and keep the money to myself, then I can grow and you can go out of business. And I saw that happening. So to me, it became a civil rights issue. And I really pushed a lot to make it a bigger deal than it really was. And I don't think people realize how important it is. Our businesses, we've worked really hard, and having a strong business, Black people hire Black people. And if you don't have a strong business, you can't hire other Black people. So here we are. So part of what Mr. Blum is doing, like with the Fearless Fund, and they're dismantling all these type of programs, I do fear that these programs that are established in a lot of jurisdictions may eventually go away.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, this gentleman, Mr. Plum, is suing. He has sued, and I think successfully, right, stopped this program that was designed to help Black women investors, right? They stopped that initiative by suing them, right? Yep. Citing, I haven't read the documents, but basically they're citing these laws that were put on the books to help people of color. They're citing those laws, and now utilizing them. This sort of court system is now utilizing them to stop investment in Black communities. It's pretty disgusting, if you ask me. That's what's happening all over the country right now.
Yeah. So currently, I'm working on a product that I'm a tech founder as well, and the Fearless Fund invested in a lot of Black women-owned startups, tech startups. Venture capitalism is a huge way for people to make generational wealth. When you create a business and you get venture capital investment, you're able to, grow your business faster. And that hit to something like the Fearless Fund directly impacts me having a tech startup, because they specifically gave grants to Black women or Black women founders. And so that's being dismantled, and that's unfortunate. They found that there was some discrimination because they were not opening it up to everyone. Hello Alice is another platform that also has grants for women or Black women, different grants, but they actually recently won. I think it was last week. They didn't have to shut down their program, but the Fearless Fund, unfortunately, right now the appellate court has decided to uphold that decision.
It's outrageous. They're basically saying that there is discrimination if you focus on investing in Black women, which is just the most ridiculous thing, right? It doesn't account for the historical discrimination and systematic destruction of Black wealth in this country. It just doesn't account for any of that, and it just says, "Oh, you're not allowed to discriminate," and if you don't open it up to everybody, it's discrimination. It's out of context, and it's unfair, it's unjust, it's really outrageous. And that's why it's so important for us to show up to the polls and to be voting and put people in office who are going to appoint judges, who are going to be mindful of the context and the history of the country, and all of that. I mean, our votes really do matter. And, it's decisions like this and so many others that highlight the importance of that every day.
Absolutely.
So listen, I've got to wrap this up. Unfortunately, I could talk to you all day.
Of course.
But listen, I got a couple of things I want to ask you, and maybe we've touched on some of this already. But I'd like to know some of your maybe what's your two questions. One, what's your sort of big high point in your career, something that you've been most proud of? Not even it could be law related, could not, but just you've got a wide career. We want to know what's your high point and what's been your most teachable moment as well. And again, maybe we've touched on some of that in our conversation, but I want to just sort of make time for that particular question and hear what you got to say on that.
So my high point, I think, to this day, Brandon, I left my position in Baltimore City. It's been about 4 years. And to this day, I still get calls from Black businesses that remember the work that I've done. And they think very highly of me. The businesses here trust me. The people that I've interacted with, they're my whole thing. When I took that position, I wanted to change the look of public service. I didn't work 9 to 5. I worked 7 days a week. I worked extremely hard. I responded to emails, even if it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I put my all into it because I wanted to change what people thought of a government employee or what public servants look like, particularly in the city, because there was such a stain. And I stood by my word and I did not fold under any circumstances. I couldn't be bought. And so I'm really, really proud of that. I'm proud of my reputation that I have in this city as an advocate. And that was not tarnished at all. And if it took me losing my position, I'm actually proud of that. I'm proud of that.
Yes, well, kudos to you. Thank you for that. And then lastly, I'd like to know what counsel do you have for maybe your younger self or maybe some young law student or a person even considering going back to law school. What would you tell your younger self or some other younger person coming up in the ranks? What counsel would you give them?
Brennan, you and I had this talk offline when we had coffee before. People think that being a lawyer is super glamorous, and we do need more Black lawyers, but the self-care portion of it, take care of yourself, stay true to who you are. And, money isn't everything. At the end of the day, you got to live with your soul, so that's what I would take from it. It's really, really difficult. I do hope that we do get more Black attorneys in practicing and doing things that, people like me are trying to do, just staying true and really standing for the people, being about the people.
Yeah, point well taken, particularly about this self-care piece. I think that's why we make some time for wellness on this show, which we'll get to momentarily. But thank you for making time to be on the show. I know how busy your schedule is, and it is just an honor to know you and to have worked with you and to have benefited from your hard work and dedication. I appreciate you. We had a good time having coffee a couple of weeks ago. I appreciate you making time then to really, you poured into me then. And so I appreciate that. And, looking forward to doing that again soon. We got to get together, maybe do lunch this time.
Absolutely. This is a great podcast. And thank you so much for having me, Brandon. Congratulations again on your award.
Thank you so much. All right, friends, hold what you got. We'll be right back with the Wellness Check. All right, friends, we're back. It's now time for our Wellness Check. The Wellness Check this week is sometimes you have to separate to elevate. I'll say that again. Sometimes you have to separate in order to elevate. Friends, the message here today is it's okay to separate. Sometimes you just have to go into that cocoon, like the butterfly, right? Well, really, it's not a butterfly before it goes in. It's a caterpillar. It has to separate. You see it builds this cocoon. It's hanging on the side of a tree branch or whatever. And I imagine if you look at caterpillars, maybe they're hanging around at the caterpillar bar or going to Caterpillar class or something. But eventually they have to go into this cocoon. They have to separate in order to become the best version of themselves. And so I want to encourage people who need to separate in order to elevate, and just let you know that it's all right. You can rejoin caterpillar class, or really you'll just elevate to butterfly class. You can rejoin the fridge if they're up to it. You can get back into the spaces that you need to be in when you're ready. But the important thing is for you to know that it's okay to separate for a little while in order to elevate, and that includes friends and family, loved ones. Maybe it's that significant other, whatever the case may be. It is all right to separate. Be okay in that space. It's okay for you to work on you. If you ever been on the plane, they tell you if the cabin pressure changes, be sure to put your mask on first before trying to assist others. And that's always a hard concept for folks to understand. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't put your mask on and you start trying to help somebody else, not only are you going to fail at trying to help them, you're going to fail at helping you as well. You both could be gone, right? Because you didn't put your mask on first. So be okay in separation and focusing on you and focusing on the next levels of your life and the next best version of you. That's your wellness check. Sometimes you have to separate in order to elevate. Remember to live life in peace and not pieces. That's your wellness check. We'll be right back. All right, friends, we are back, and it's now time for our Apex highlight. We probably got the best highlight ever on this show. Her name is Angela Rogers. She is my mother. I've known her for a long, long time. She is a native Memphian, and I'm excited to announce, or to help her announce, that she is seeking election in the District 3, in District 3 of the Shelby County School Board, and she's here to talk to us about what she's doing and what she wants to do and why she's seeking office. Miss Angela, mommy.
Hello, honey.
Welcome to Lawyerish. I'm so excited to have you on today.
I'm excited to be on, and thank you for having me.
Excellent. So can you just tell the people a little bit about this office that you're seeking, and why do you really want to be on the school board? You've got no kids. Why do you want to be on the school board?
Honey, I do have kids. I had two of them, you and your sister. So, but I do have lots of bonus children and grandchildren. And so anyway, Memphis Shelby County School Board Commissioner, District 3. And why do I want to why am I running for this position? And why has that been sparked? One, it just kind of came to me. It's something that I had in my thought processes many, many years ago, and of course had put it out of my head. And this opportunity came where I was actually sought out for this position, just from people who know my history in the community, who know what I've done and the impact that God has allowed me to make in the lives of young people. And so this position, running for this position for me, comes out of a passion, just an authentic passion for shaping the future of young people's lives. I've devoted my life to that. It's part of my life purpose. And it's always been centered around reshaping the lives of our children and the futures of children. And I started that with my own family. And so I just considered it an honor to do it on a larger scale for the students of District 3. And that's what I've been doing anyway. I've been doing that for a long time in District 3.
Yeah, no doubt about that, right? You've been in the community for years. You've been engaged. You were part of Young Women Striving for Excellence for a number of years. Mm-hmm. Then you started your own nonprofit, A Mother's Heart, where you were working with teenage moms and helping to sort of break the cycles of poverty. And you did job training and readiness. You sort of supplied Pampers and safe spaces for young women who needed support, and you've been mothering for a long time, both both to me and to many others, to your bonus children as well. You were also a substitute teacher, and you were bonus staff at a couple of high schools in the district as well. So, as my old boxing coach would say, you're not new to this, you're true to this. You've been doing this a long time. So we understand that sort of, you were sought out. There is sort of this big need for change. Can you just tell us what your priorities are? If the people of the District 3 decide to elect you, what are your priorities for the district? How do you intend to be impactful in the space?
Okay. So I will say, for this particular district, in my mind, and just in my experience, I won't even say in my mind, in my experience, there are a lot of disparities in this community, and things that need attention. This community is a great community, has so much and a lot to offer. The people are good. And so just want to see this community receive resources just like other communities receive, to elevate us. You mentioned about separate to elevate. And so want to make sure that we are set apart for the purpose of being elevated, and whatever that means, that I have to be the voice for the people here. My top priorities are reading and early literacy, and making sure that our children get what they need. We owe them that as the people who are here, as the adults. And so we owe them this education that we're promising them. And so to empower them and prepare them for life beyond the classroom. And so making sure that they have what they need, that they have the education that they expect, that they should be able to expect from our community. We have a population here in Memphis where there's only about 22% of our students who are reading at or above grade level. And that, to me, is an absolute travesty. And I want to see that change. And so my intention here is to examine whatever systems we've got in place, find out what's working, find out what's not working. And then, matter of fact, you see a lot that isn't working. And so do something about that. We have to face whatever the challenges are that are challenging our children and their education. So that's that could be 1 and 2 for me. Because what I understand is that when children don't get it in the earlier years, we've got a whole system, whole pipeline to prison set up to vacuum, to suction them in when they're not reading at levels. And so we've got to make sure that we are giving them what they need, and we've got to just destroy this pipeline to prison. I consider that a cuss word. And so we've got to destroy that. And it just gives me all kinds of crazy thoughts about how in the world could we put these labels on our precious boys, on our precious children. And so whatever I can do to stop that, that's what I'll do. And literacy is at the forefront of that.
Yeah, that's okay. So, because I think in terms of this, prison and pipeline business, right? I think it's been determined that if children can't read at the appropriate grade level by third grade, right, then it's been determined that it's almost inevitable that they will end up, in prison, right? And that's part of the, I guess, the prison pipeline, right? And that's kind of what we're trying to. And what you're saying is early literacy is how we attack that.
Absolutely. Early literacy is the way that we combat that we destroy that, giving our babies what they need.
So what do we need to do different? What does the community need to do different then? If we understand that early literacy is important, right? We're hearing you and say, okay, Miss Angela, okay, fine. All right, what do we need to do then? How do we fix it, right? If the people, District 3, say, okay, we hear you that early literacy is important, What do you have to say? What do we do, Miss Angela? How do we fix it? You tell us what to do, and then what do you say?
First of all, we find out what's working elsewhere. We find out what is working in places. We've got right here in our neighboring state, where they were literally the lowest in terms of reading and education in the nation. And they have experienced what's called what they are calling now the Mississippi Miracle, because they have emerged out of the ashes and have skyrocketed to new levels. And so I believe that our children have the capability of doing that. We as a community have the ability to do that. We excuse me. We come together, we create round tables, we create kitchen tables, fireside chats, whatever we have to do to get what it is that we need to do, talking it out with each other. And look, as far as changing laws and legislation, I'm here for that as well, because we've got to do something. And so we make sure that our voices are heard. And the first thing we do is we vote. When we find out what candidates are here for, what their passion is, what they're set to do, what their priorities are, we vote accordingly, and then we hold people accountable. I expect the people of District 3 to hold me accountable when I win this election.
When I win, I like that kind of energy. Okay. All right. So basically, what you're saying is, if early literacy is the issue, then we've got to figure out what's working. I think I've also heard you say something around it's starting at home, right? And engaging parents to help deal with this big issue. What do you got to say about that?
Absolutely. I think that it is very key. That is something that I've done at home, and I see the impact. I know how impactful it is to read to children early on, helping them to form words. There are other cultures of people who expose their children to so many words, reading and regular words, just not the baby talk, but reading, spending time reading and making that a very valuable part of your lifestyle, even at home. It starts with parents. Our children determine what is important by what they see important to us. When we deem that something is important, then they learn, they emulate whatever they learn from us. So it's important for us as parents to read. It's important for us as parents to read to our children. It's important to make that a priority. When schools send work home for the summer, engage our children in that and make it a priority. It just has to be a priority. Reading from the womb, even starting from the womb, it just starts with parents. And and here's the challenge, because the more I talk to people, the more that I understand, especially parents of children who are in the system right now, in the school systems right now, a lot of them do not know how to read.
Wow. I keep hearing that. That is apparently there's like a real, crisis around the country where people don't really know how to read, and we're not paying attention to that.
Yes, it is something that we can no longer ignore. And what it does when a parent doesn't know how to read themselves, they don't feel confident articulating what their child needs. I see that my child is not doing well, and look, as a parent, guarantee you that I don't want them to end up like me. If I'm a person who can't read, I sit in the vulnerability of not being able to read. I want my child to have the confidence. I don't want them to be vulnerable. I want them to be empowered and have what they need. I, as a parent, just don't know how to say that without feeling ashamed, or myself, or without a fear attached to it that someone's going to embarrass me because and so we've got to come out of that enough to fight for our children. And so there are parent groups out here that are absolutely amazing. There is one here in Memphis called Memphis Lift. When I shared the information Sunday, when I did my first announcement, there was a young lady who talked about a grandparents organization that she started. And so, look, I read to my grandchildren all the time. Every child should have the confidence of knowing how to read. There is a confidence that comes along with that. So partnering with organizations who help our voices to be heard, partnering with organizations that can empower us as parents. So we have to show up. This has to be important to parents. It has to take precedence over the stuff. And sometimes, and I'm not asking anybody to do anything that I haven't done. Sometimes we got to make making money less important and making sure that our children get an education the most important thing.
Well, that's a hard pill to swallow, but I think you're probably right about that, because you got to figure out, you got to prioritize. And I think Tamara Brown was just on the show. That was one of the things that she said is like, money's not the most important thing. We got to prioritize it. Of course, we need money to do lots of things, but that can't be the end all be all. There are things that are obviously more important than that. So listen, can you tell us, I've got to wrap this up a little bit, but just you're in the middle of this election. Can you just tell us about how people can support you, can get behind the campaign, and also win his election? Can you just talk to us a little bit about that?
Excuse me, I apologize for my coughing.
Yeah, cut that out.
So there are lots of ways that you can support. First of all, I don't know if you have the graphic for that, but first of all, just remember this: Angela Rogers for District 3 Scholars. That's what I want. Vote for Angela Rogers, District 3 Scholars. If you want to go to the website and see what the priorities and the focus are, go to the website. The website is Angela Rogers for D3 Scholars. Angela Rogers for D3Scholars.com.
For D3Scholars.com. Did I get that right?
Okay. Angela Rogers for D3Scholars.com. Early voting is in this area starts on July 12th. That's it. Starts on July 12th. I think that's a Friday. That's a Friday, okay. July 12th. And early voting goes all the way through Saturday, July 27th. And one of the things we know for sure, particularly in this area, it has been identified, and in most places, but the win is won in early voting. Yeah. So it's important for people to get out and vote early during the time that we're voting. Election day itself is August 1st. And I'm so excited about that because that's one day before my birthday, my 59th birthday. Yes. And so I expect to be celebrating this win on August 2nd along with my 59th birthday.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So yes, let's make sure we give a birthday gift to Miss Angela and to the people of District 3.
Yes.
Vote for her. I want to give you just the last word here. I'll do two things. Before I do the last word, I want to know, what counsel do you have for someone who's who's younger, or maybe even for your younger self? I mean, you've got an incredible story. You really didn't even really get into, your incredible story. You've got such a wonderful background. I mean, you were just in a movie. We just did a movie premiere for you earlier this week. You were in a play at the Orpheum earlier this year. Yes. And to think just a couple of years ago, you almost died of COVID. You were in ICU and you almost didn't make it. Ooh. And now all of a sudden, here you are. You've been a voiceover actress. You've been on the big stage. You're now on the big screen. And now you're in the public eye as a potential public official, and you've had near-death experiences, probably 3 or 4 times in your lifetime where you, where you either died or you either almost lost your life. What counsel do you have for somebody who maybe listened to this in a hospital room, or who may be feeling down, or maybe is down, maybe at the end of their rope? What do you got to offer to the people who who see you now in all these wonderful spaces and probably saw you almost dying, and dying in years past?
Wow, that is a loaded question.
Definitely.
So what I would say is this, because I am, just sitting in places of gratitude for being able to sit in the space where I have been allowed to be. It is through much prayer that any of this has occurred in my life. Any of it, the survival, the new places. I think that what I would say to the person who's sitting in a moment of despair right now, who's sitting in a moment of hurt and pain or uncertainty, not knowing what is ahead, what the future holds, or what your next steps are. I sat in those moments, so I know what they're like. But I remember, and I just have to tell you my story. Just have to tell you my story. I remember feeling the frustration of not knowing where I fit in as I came back as I'm coming back out of COVID, as I'm coming back, emerging into my community, society, just emerging back into things, just life. I remember feeling so incompetent. Whew, Lord. I remember feeling so many fields. I was sitting in so many fields, and they weren't good. Wondering, why did you spare me? I knew God spared me for purpose, but just what are my next steps? And so sometimes we sit in the frustration and the anxiety of what are my next steps. And what I heard the Lord speak to me, and I'll share that with you and with the younger you as you approach whatever obstacles you'll face in life. As I pondered and thought about and toiled and turmoiled over what am I supposed to be doing, because I was feeling unworthy. I just didn't know my worth anymore. And so I remember hearing the Lord say, just do what's in front of you.
Wow.
And that's what I've been doing. That's how I've been able to show up at every, just do what's in front of you. Stop trying to figure out all of this, and all of that, and do what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And my prayer shifted to, calling in my destiny helpers and people who are supposed to help me be where I'm supposed to be and do what God called me to do. So they began praying for my destiny helpers to find me and I to find them. I began praying for clarity and direction, and for God to just send my name in rooms, God, wherever you want me, then that's where I want to be. And so, and just putting it out there in prayer, but just doing what's in front of me and continuing to show up. I think that was so huge. Just keep showing up.
That's good.
Just keep showing up.
That is so good. I love that. That's one of the things that I have. I think at the graduation speech when I graduated law school, one of the things I talked about is we got here by simply putting one foot in front of the other. Right. It's just about taking that step, moving forward. And I think that your life certainly represents that. Thank you for sharing that. I want to get back. We got to wrap this up. But one other thing I want to ask, why should the people of District 3 vote for you? There are lots of people in the race. There's an incumbent. She's been doing it. Why, when they go into that booth, should they cast their vote for Angela Rogers?
Well, 3 reasons. I have a desire to make a difference. I see the need and a desire to make a difference. Yes, we could put that in 1 or 2. And then here's the thing. I've got a strong track record, a very strong track record of doing exactly, walking beside families and making sure that they have the resources and giving them what they need, especially in this district. I have a track record of doing that. And my track record speaks for itself. And so this is simply an opportunity. I've done the work. This is simply an opportunity to do it for more people.
Yeah. Well said. All right, friends, you heard it. You heard it here. It's Angela Rogers. Go to her website. It's AngelaRogers4D3.com. Oh, D3scholars.com. So Angela Rogers 4D3scholars.com, right? And the 3 is the number 3. Right.
The number 3.
Everything else is letters. So Angela Rogers 4 District. Oh Lord, Angela Rogers 4D3scholars.com. I think I got it. Okay, so we need you to vote early, guys. August 1st is the election day in Memphis, Tennessee. So vote early. Don't vote often, just once. Just vote once, but do vote early if you can. We need volunteers and we need donations.
Right. That's what I was about to say. We need volunteers, donations, all of that. You can volunteer in a number of ways. We're collecting the data. We've got a QR code. I don't know if did you get that?
We don't have the graphic. I apologize about that.
All right. So we've got a QR code for those who want to. I don't know if that'll even show on here if I do that. Is that kind of?
We'll put the QR code in our.
Okay. All right. So there's a QR code that'll take you directly to the website. You can donate, read my why, understand a little bit more about me, where I've come from, what I've done, how I've contributed to the community, and why I want to keep doing that just on a greater scale.
And the website, one more time, is Angela Rogers for D3Scholars.com. I think we got it. All right. Yeah. Congratulations to you. Good luck to you. Best wishes. And I know you're going to do a great job. Thank you for spending time on our show today.
Thank you. Keep me in your prayers and keep District 3 in your prayers.
Absolutely. That's my mama, y'all. Go vote for her. All right, friends. We'll be right back with our motivational moment. All right, friends. We are back, and it's now time for our motivational moment. It comes from another Black queen. At the end of the day gotta end. That's from Glorilla, and it is the truth for us today, right? Just remember, wherever you are, if you're down and out, feeling low, remember, this too shall pass. That's what the Bible says. But Glorilla says, at the end of the day gotta end, and joy cometh in the morning. Hang in there, friends. You got this. We'll be right back to wrap things up. Well, friends, we've done it again. Another successful episode. This is season 3, episode 8, I do believe. I want to thank my guests, Tamara Brown, and my mama, Miss Angela Rogers, candidate for District 3, Shelby County School Board. Make sure you vote for her. I appreciate that. Remember, Lawyerish is brought to you by Apex, where aptitude meets excellence. And powered by the Green Law Firm, your one-stop shop for everything real estate in Tennessee and Mississippi. Thank you for listening and for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Just like any voyage, it's just a little bit more fun if you can bring a friend or two along. Remember to email your questions to lawyerish@apexgroupbc.com. Shout out to Rowdy for this voyage vibe today. It's called For and Take. So nice, I had to dip it back twice. I really like this beat a whole lot. So I appreciate you, sir, for letting me utilize the voyage vibe, for setting the vibe today. I want to say thanks to all of my friends who are listening and who are watching and who are sending me feedback. Thank y'all so much. I am so grateful to be able to do this thing with you and with people that I do it with. It's an honor and a privilege. So thank you kindly. Until next time, be well.